1, 2. Good evening, everybody. We're waiting for them to get the audio up on that health nugget. So while we do that, how's everybody doing? Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to another presentation of Unveiling Revelation. So before we get started, we want to remind you that let me know when it's ready, guys. All right, I'll put it up. I want to remind you about the gifts that we're giving out, right? We're giving out the Daniel and Revelation magazine, and we also have the last magazine, the last DVD, which will be the Revelation, the Bride, the Beast, and Babylon DVD documentary. When are we giving that one out? No, not Friday. Sabbath, when? In the afternoon, right? In our last session, which will be at what time? 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock we have a baptismal ceremony, and then we have the last presentation. So we will be giving out that DVD so that you can come and you can receive that DVD, and that DVD has to do with a lot of the topics that we're covering here. We also have some gift left for those that bring guests. Amen? So did anybody bring any new guests today? Did anybody bring 5 new guests today? 4 new guests today? 3 new guests today? 2 new guests today? Did anybody bring 2 new guests? No? Did anybody bring 1 new guest? 1 new guest. Yes, we have 1, 2, 3. And we have 1, 2, 3. Amen? So come. Amen. Come give that. Can you take that over to him? Yeah, you're right there. Hey, thank you, brother. And you young guys, you can come over here. We'll take that over. Can you take that over to him? Thank you. Thank you. To him and then the young man next to you. Amen? So we have those gifts. So keep on bringing out. Are you ready for the health nugget, or are we still waiting? Are we going to have to continue to go on? All right. So I have some questions that I was given. Remember, I said that today and tomorrow we're not here, right? Yeah. Remember. So on Friday, today and Friday, I'll be asking some questions that some people have left. Now, this is a question, if you believe it or not, right? It's a long question, and it's actually an explanation to a question. So this one is about specifically, have you ever heard of when Jesus says that it shall be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth, right? Have you heard that? Go with me, please, to Matthew chapter 12. This is very important because this is something that comes up a lot. People ask in regards to how long was Jesus in the tomb. Matthew chapter 12. Matthew chapter 12. It starts on verse number 38. The question, the phrase that Jesus uses. It says on verse number 38. Then some of the scribes and Pharisees answered, saying, Teacher, we want to see a sign from you. But he answered and said to them, verse 39, Matthew 12:39, an evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign will be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the great fish, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights where? In the heart of the earth. So some people have taken this one verse, because it's just one verse, where it says 3 days and 3 nights the sign, to argue or to say that because of that 3 days and 3 nights that Jesus Christ should have been 72 hours in the tomb, right? 3 days and 3 nights. Now, the question is that are we going to try to interpret the Bible based on one Bible verse? No, right? So, when we look at the evidence to see when exactly Jesus died and how long, it's important to understand that the Hebrew uses a different method of calculation. When we talk about 1 day, we talk about a 72-hour period, right? I mean a 24-hour period, right? But in the Hebrew, especially when you look at the Hebrew mind, they use a method that is called the inclusive method. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. The inclusive method means that you've been on that day. Follow me? So, let's see for an example. Go with me to Luke. Go with me to Luke chapter 24. Luke chapter 24. And this is when they were coming from Emmaus. Remember that? Luke chapter 24, it says, when the 2 disciples found Jesus on the road to Emmaus. How does it say it? Did I say it correctly? Emmaus. Yeah, you understand me. And it says in Luke chapter 24, notice that this was happening the same day that Jesus resurrected. On what day did Jesus resurrect? The first day of the week, right? It's clearly stated in Luke chapter 24. It says in verse number 1, now on the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they and certain other women with them came to the tomb, right? That's the first day of the week. That was Sunday. And it says then in verse number 17. Now let's look, 13. It says, now behold, two of them were traveling that same day. So what day is this? It's Sunday, the first day of the week, right? Jump to me to verse number 8. Cleopas, known the things which happened there in these days. And he said to them, him who is Jesus, it's still Sunday, and they are including Sunday in their count. Are you following me? They're using the inclusive method. They're saying this is the third day. So what was the second day? The Sabbath. And what was the first? Friday. It's been Saturday, and Sunday is the third day since he died. Now, that is the inclusive method. If you follow the other problem, which can be used, but in this context, in the death of Christ, we will see that it is not used, then it would assume, some people say then that he must have died. Based on this, he took it down. Where was the body of Jesus if he took it down? It was on the cross. And then it says in verse 54, that day was the what day? The preparation. Amen? Are you following me? And there's a number of different ways we can do this. If you remember also when we talked about the 7 feast days, you remember the 7 feast days? What did we say the 7 feast days were? They were 7 prophecies. You had the unleavened bread and you had the first fruits. Remember the first 3 festivals? 14 of Nisan, 15 Nisan, and 16 Nisan, based on the Hebrew calendar. And remember, when did that happen? That happened one day after another. It was one day after. Those 3 first festivals were the first 3 days. 14, 15, 16 of Nisan. 14, which was the Passover, represented the death of Christ. 15 was the unleavened bread, representing his body in the tomb. And then the third day, which was the 16th of Nisan, which was the first fruits, represented what? When he was resurrected. Amen? Once again, Friday. Now, there's a number of ways we can break this down. I'm just giving you a couple of small examples. What I will do is, if you've noticed in my notes, I have been sending you booklets and study guides. Have you noticed that? Right? These are small books. They're like about 12 or 13 pages. They're from Amazing Facts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a specific book on this topic. Amen? Now, about the 3 days and 3 nights, because 3 days and 3 nights are a period of 72 hours. What? The best explanation that I've heard to that one verse, because it's just that one verse that causes some people to believe in this idea that Jesus somehow died on Wednesday or Thursday, is that he was for 72 hours, he was in the midst, it says he was in the heart of the belly, right? Not making reference to he was in the tomb, but from the moment he was arrested, right? Until the moment he was resurrected, guess how long was the period? 72 hours, because it was right after he had done the Last Supper with his disciples. That period of time, of terminology that is used there, ultimately 72 hours. So remember, based on one Bible verse, we cannot try to rearrange things. We have to let the abundance of evidence, and once we see the abundance, and we have one Bible verse that seems to not be in line, then we have to let the Lord teach us what that one Bible verse means. Amen? So I'm going to send you a study on that specific topic.